What's up, bitches? Welcome back to another episode of Positively Uncensored, your favorite reality TV and interview podcast. It's your host, Leah.
Today, I'm having a very special guest join me to dive into Love is Blind Season 10, episodes 10 and 11. We have so many juicy thoughts. She is a marriage and family therapist, so I can't wait for her to balance out some of my hasty, potentially over-the-top opinions. But before we go there, let me remind you to like this if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And I want to start with a couple of reality TV announcements. First of all, the last episode that I posted, I talked about TMZ's odd article that they had posted about Lisa Rinna. And I wanted to make it clear in that episode and repeat today, especially as Lisa Rinna has come out and confirmed that she was in fact drugged at the Abbey in LA at the Traitors premiere party or cast party. I want to say that my issue with that article is it felt off. The focus of the article, instead of on how horrible it would be if Lisa Rinna was drugged, instead it was focused on how Colton was a hero or what Colton did to notice that something was wrong with Lisa and solve the situation. It talked about their prior relationship. It mentioned stuff at Barnes and Nobles. All of that's irrelevant. On top of that, I still maintain the belief that I think that somebody from Colton's team leaked that information. I think that the wording of the source that they got it from was clearly trying to paint some sort of narrative about Colton. That aside, I'm glad if Colton was the person who noticed that Lisa Rinna was overly intoxicated and not okay and contacted her team. Good. That's what any decent human being should do in that situation. The next topic of discussion is the fact, though, that this article, as Lisa Rinna confirmed in an interview, was a leak. So she and her team weren't ready to publicly come out with this information, and it was said before they were ready, which is what makes me think that it was somebody who was either close to her or somebody who was also at that event, somebody who would have something to gain Colton from being painted to look like he's in a positive light, especially with the Traitors reunion dropping last night. But her saying that she found fentanyl in a drink is beyond scary. And as a woman, if you're listening to this podcast, we've always had to be overly aware when going out. Who do we accept drinks from? Has the drink been opened? But it's never safe. Like, you can get the drink directly from the bartender and still have something wrong with your drink. Fentanyl could have killed her. That's absolutely terrible. I can't imagine what would have happened if her team didn't notice. And we're hearing her mention that this is not new to that location. The Abbey has had many allegations of people leaving feeling as if they were drugged. So that place needs shut down. I think it was terrible that somebody came forward and talked about her being drugged before she was ready to come forward and talk about that. I think that them quoting and saying that Lisa Rinna thinks that she was drugged without directly talking to Lisa Rinna, I still think that that's strange. But I'm not shocked that happened, especially in downtown LA with this club that has like sordid past. But I am kind of shocked at the brazenness for them to put something in her drink, allegedly, as she's there for a premiere party and she's like a celebrity with so many people around her. That's the first bit of news. The second bit of news that I wanted to talk about is I watched the show 56 Days on Prime within 2 days. My friend, who's about to be joining me on this podcast episode to talk about Love is Blind, was the one who recommended it to me, and I kept noticing that it was #1 on Prime. If you watch Tell Me Lies and you are craving, I don't want to ruin too much, so know that this might be a bit of a spoiler, but I was craving something with like a positive ending, and I felt like I got that from 56 Days. So I enjoyed it. It's on Prime. It took me 2 days to finish it. There are 8 episodes. And if you watch it and you want to hear me recap it or my thoughts on that series, please let me know in the comments. Speaking of Traitors, my last bit of news is I'm not sure if I'm going to provide a recap for the finale of Traitors or the reunion because I knew it was going to happen. The writing has been on the wall. It's been obvious that Rob was going to win. It's no secret that I didn't want to see him win the season. So I genuinely, I'm going to be honest with you, fast forwarded till the very end where it was clear that Rob won. And then I rewound it a little bit to see Moira's reaction. And then I watched the reunion and I felt conflicted. I feel bad to see Moira sit there and say that she's so dumb. However, you are. You are, and you're very male centered. And because of that, you dropped your guard and you didn't win. You could have been in a position to win with Johnny and Tara, but no, you chose Rob in his overalls with a girlfriend the entire time. I mean, that's what I have to say. Also, I think that I agree with Candace. I don't really care what they say about signing NDAs. I understand what she's saying, where she says it feels a little too convenient, a little too on the nose for Colton to be campaigning for the exact two people that Rob wanted to go home, who were fellow traitors. Could Colton have known that? Yes, but he was also very vocal and wrong about his first couple of choices. So I don't know whether Rob directly said it or whether it was something that was said with body language and eye contact, kind of like Candace was saying. I believe her. That's my thoughts on Traders. So, as promised today, I am joined by a very special guest and my good friend. In case you have missed it, she has been on the podcast many times before. She is a marriage and family therapist. So, welcome back, my good friend, Janae Tipton.
Yay! It's been like too long, Leah.
It's been too long. I'm so excited to catch up with you. I'm so excited to talk about our shows. And I'm so excited to tell you some of my strong opinions on this season of Love is Blind and either seek balance or seek validation.
Okay.
And I think it'll be nice to see where you fall on some of those things.
I'm ready. I have my fiance kind of hooked, and he's been providing a little balance for my opinions as well. So let's do it.
So we start episode 10 and we're still at this group hangout night at this bar in Columbus that seemingly doesn't have a name, mind you. It just says like Columbus on the outside of the bar, which I guess is pretty fitting as someone from Ohio. Like, like I guess, yeah, make it obvious, make it the town name. But if you are personally from Columbus, because I'm closer to Cleveland area, please let me know what this bar name is, because I'll never forget prior Love is Blind season where we got the tea on Jimmy, I think it was, because everybody knew of that bar in Charlotte. So
And knew that parking lot did not exist.
so I need the lore. Like I need to know about this space. So we start the episode and we're still there and Chris is still talking to Bree. And Chris.
Bree.
That part, yes. Because he's inebriated and he's an asshole. So he sounds how he sounds. Her entertaining him, I'm like, that tells me a lot about you.
Yes.
But he's standing there and he's claiming that he told Connor that Jess was his number one back in the boys' lounge. And when he did, that Connor's response was, okay, then I'll pick Bree. And Chris 100% thinks that he would have picked Emma had he not said that. And what I'd like to say is that makes no sense.
At all.
At all. I don't follow. If you're talking to Jess and Bree and he's talking to Emma and Bree, why would your decision to pick Jess make him pick Bree and you're claiming that he would have 100% picked Emma? What you told him was Bree's available because I'm picking Jess. So if he wanted Emma's available. Yeah, if he wanted Emma, then he would have pursued Emma. So I didn't even understand what point he was trying to make, and I'm curious if you had that same reaction.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, I don't think that happened. Or I don't think it happened like the way that you're retelling it, Chris. What I felt more was you're trying to make it seem like Connor just got thrown your leftovers and said, yeah, okay, sure. Chris is like that smooth, he wants to be a smooth talker, right? He wants to give the illusion of I was in control, I was making the decisions, when I decided that I didn't want you, then I gave Connor the go ahead because I Connor's no competition for me. That is how I saw it. That's how I saw that whole conversation. Is basically Chris trying to allude that Connor is no competition for me, and the only reason why he picked you is because I bowed out.
Unless production told Connor not to go up and like interrupt this conversation, I do judge Connor a little bit for not interrupting this conversation because this seemed to have last for such a long time. And Bree should have walked away. She's 100% responsible for her own
Mhm.
actions. She should have shut down the conversation. But I don't know if Connor was like unsure of what to do in that situation. But at the point where you hear him yelling profanities like 4 times in a row, 6 times in a row, I feel like, or you hear your name constantly being mentioned, I
Mhm.
don't feel like it would have been inappropriate for Connor to step over there. And I wish that he had done that. Do you think that that would have been appropriate?
I don't think that that would have been appropriate. Even though like
Okay.
Chris was saying his name very loudly, yelling profanities, that is really on Bree. Bree stood
That's
there
fair.
the whole time and, like you said, entertained the conversation for way too long. As soon as the other two
Hmm.
ladies walked away, honestly, I wouldn't have been there in that
Yes.
conversation at all with Chris, knowing that Chris has
No.
already DM'd you and tried to message you and all that good stuff. But as soon as those other two ladies left that conversation, I would have left right behind them as well. This is where my fiance was kind of like man to man, I would not have approached him either. It's on your lady to be the one to like show the respect for your relationship or for you. If someone is speaking bad on them, like you need to depart. If you don't want to defend and get into that, you need to leave the conversation. She stood there for way too long.
That's good to know
But
because that's some balance I need.
I want to say, however, comma,
Yes.
Connor is more, I don't want to say docile, but Connor is more kind of whatever. Like he's not that macho man. He's not the type to approach you and want to stir more drama or want to be the aggressor in the situation. So I also feel like that would have been unnatural for him to approach Chris anyways.
I can see that. I think that you're right. Like, I think that part of it is that Connor trusts Bree. Like,
Hmm.
he trusts her to handle the situation
Hmm.
herself. I think that I didn't want him to come up and address Chris. And I don't think that Chris saying his name was the issue. I think it seemed really aggressive towards Bree.
Yeah.
And I just like feel like me personally, like this is a projection, but like I feel like I would have appreciated, granted, it like it I don't know what Brie was thinking. I think that
Hmm.
she was flattered. I think that she was entertained by him. I think that she's interested in him.
Hmm.
But like the way that he was talking to her, I feel like it like would have been nice if he was just at least standing behind her because at certain points the way that Chris's demeanor was, it's like, are you
Yeah.
yelling at her or are you flirting with her? And if you're flirting with her, then that's fine. She's supposed to walk away from that. But if you're
Hmm.
yelling at her, then I feel like there's an issue here. But again, I think that that's asking for too much in the moment when she could just probably walk away from the conversation.
I actually don't think that that's too much. I think it would have been too much for her. Brie comes off as a really
Mm.
strong, independent, I got it.
Mm.
You don't have to be my knight in shining armor. Don't come and defend me type of girl, right? Whereas I feel like if this was Emma standing in front of Chris, then absolutely, where is your man to come and make sure that you're cool? Because Emma doesn't even
Mhm.
give off those kind of vibes that I got it. If you're raising your voice at me, it's all, I can defend myself. Brie does.
Mhm.
But I feel like it's
Mhm.
situational. If it was a different woman on the cast, maybe,
Mhm.
yes. Like I could see
Mhm.
the conversation going the same with Priyanka, because Priyanka clearly, which I'm sure we'll get to, can stand up and vocalize for herself. But if it was Jess that Chris was speaking to like that, I think
Mhm.
whoever, if Jess had a different partner, they would have come up and said, like, I know my lady, and that's not my lady doesn't operate in that realm to allow a man to step to her like that, right? But Brie doesn't even have
Mhm.
that kind of energy that
No.
you need somebody to come up on their white horse and stand behind you. I think she would have been more bothered by that.
That's so interesting because she's standing there and basically agreeing with Chris that Connor's a pussy and that
Hmm.
Connor is a beta and that Connor doesn't take initiative and that Connor is too passive for her and should be more of a man, and that he's saying red pill stuff and like toxic masculinity stuff, but she's like agreeing with him. So that's why I almost wondered, like, did she wish Connor stood behind him? Like, what is she looking for a guy? Is she looking for a guy that says she's so independent, or is she, I kept hearing, I wish I could remember. I think it was Two Black Girls, One Rose. I think that they're convinced that Brie doesn't want somebody that she's going to like out earn or out alpha.
Hmm.
And I could sort of see that too. Like, I could sort of see that she wants her partner to be commanding and like authoritative too. But I can see what your point too as well, that she's independent. Like, don't come up behind me. I can leave this conversation if I'm uncomfortable. You're embarrassing yourself.
I think it was a Connor thing too. Like, let's say the roles,
Mhm.
let's say she wasn't with Connor. Let's say she was with Mike or Vic, another guy, other gentlemen who just kind of give off that aura of they're chill, but they lead. I think if one of them would, if she would have been matched with one of them and been in the same situation with Chris, she would have
100%.
liked a Vic to come up and stand behind her. But that's not Connor's demeanor either. So if Connor
Mhm.
came up
You're
behind
right,
her,
it's not.
it would not have even that moment would not have matched what she would have been looking
100%.
for. So I totally
Mhm.
agree with the
That's
podcast
so
that you're talking
true.
about. Like she wants the macho man, but then she wants somebody to be really soft with her, but then she still wants to lead, but then she also wants
Mhm.
somebody to lead for her. It's like
Mhm.
what you want is you want two people because she wanted Connor and then she wanted the Chris. Like,
Tell me it's not giving Madison and Alan from Married at First Sight and her desire to be with David. Like, it just
yes.
feels like the same exact situation. But so we don't spend too much time here because I'm only literally 30 seconds into the episode, and that's my bad. He then talks about from going to making these claims, obviously trying to make Bree doubt Connor, right? And if he really wanted to be with her. He then says that they live half a mile apart. She's hot as fuck. He'll take her to the Four Seasons. And then he does that weird tongue flick that I just did if you're watching the visual. And at this point, he says, like, I think we would have been fuck buddies. He doesn't even have enough respect to say that I think I would have dated you. We would have been so close. You would have been like the girl next door. No, no, no. He makes his intentions very clear. And to me, again, I'm judging you, Brie. Why are you standing here and listening to this? I think that she wants to be told that she's hot so badly that she finds this endearing. And that to me is very pick me.
I feel like that's the immaturity in dating or wanting to date is
Mm-hmm.
that you want somebody to tell you all of these things and you're so pretty and you're so hot, but then play like the game of cat and mouse a little bit. And that just showed her
Mm-hmm.
immaturity for like really being prepared for this situation because you're entertaining a guy who you did not pick in the pods, who you guys actually had a discussion about. I'm actually going to go pick my other person. Great. And you know that this guy is probably not right for you. He's belligerently drunk, which is one of the most unattractive things I think any guy can be in public. And sometimes women as well, like just belligerently drunk. You know you don't like that,
Mm-hmm.
but you want him to feed your ego.
Yes.
While you have Connor
Yes.
feeding your ego at the same time, but you like that attention.
And we'll get to that too, because Brie is so weird because she likes it, but like not too much. Like
Hmm.
she doesn't want to hear too many nice things about herself, which we'll get to
Hmm.
when we get to their train ride, I think to visit her family in Michigan. But Chris leaves the conversation, and I don't know how, but he says, like, apparently I'm Andrew Tate. I don't know if this was after Alex and no, Ashley and Priyanka walked away, or if this was in response to talking to Bree, but he just like basically says that out of nowhere. Um, And I remember watching, I thought that somebody said this to him, and I was hoping it was one of the ladies. But it's even weirder if he made that joke about himself, I think. Like, I think that if somebody had said to him, okay, this guy's like Andrew Tate, like Amber, if
Hmm.
Amber was like, okay, Andrew Tate, you're so weird, but for him to make the joke, like, apparently I'm Andrew Tate, just about himself, that would have stopped me in my fucking tracks. I would have looked at him and been like, the sex trafficker? That's who you're comparing yourself to?
Right. And I think Bree knows who Andrew Tate is. But
100%.
one thing I will give her a round of applause in is that she was like, "Who? I don't know who that guy is," and walked away. I think that was a masterclass in communication and basically telling somebody, "What a loser." And I'm not even going to ask you who Andrew Tate is. I'm just going to be like, "I don't know who that guy is," and keep it pushing.
I could see that, or I could also see her being like really kind of trying to keep her politics close to the vest and being like, oh, not you talking about things that are talked about in private. Like,
Mm,
I think Brie and Chris share a lot of the same values.
mhm.
And I think that that's part of why she finds him maybe intoxicating or just maybe enticing. Like, I'm not really sure what word to use. Um, but okay, since everybody's at this night, we go outside and we check in, and Kavan is talking about how great Kia is, and her face made me laugh because she's clearly, again, not interested in his speech about how great she is. Do you have anything to add, or did I miss anything in between?
I have nothing to add. Well, actually, I have something to add. I think that this was his first time having to pick between two women. And
Hmm.
like what a pleasure that is because both of those women were very beautiful in the pods. And I think
Hmm.
that this might be his first time where like he's just having like a really beautiful woman that he messed up with in his face and maybe having the opportunity to make some repair, but he just doesn't have, what do the kids say? He doesn't have Riz. Like that, I think that's
No.
what it comes down to. It's like I want to like him. I
Hmm.
think that he's genuinely nice. I think I see why he stumbled in the pods. I really think it just came
Hmm.
down to the fact that he's like never had two women that are going after him or that he has the
Hmm.
option for. And I just think he just lacked a little riz. That's what it was. Kia was over it.
Hmm.
I don't think she was paying it any mind. I think she has washed her
Yes.
hands of the situation, but he was still trying to hope that maybe he could like secure something. But no, the moment was over.
Moment had been passed. I completely agree with you. There is not really a suaveness or like a riz to him. And I think he's just like really unsure. And
Yeah.
like as I agree, like what a predicament to be in. They're two beautiful women with two beautiful personalities. I think I too would have been caught up between that. But he strikes me as like very unsure about like everything. Like, hey, do you want to go get pizza or do you want to go get burgers tonight? I don't know. Like, no, no,
Mhm.
no. We need to pick something. And
Yes.
yeah, I think that both of them found that unattractive.
You know, if we think about married at first sight, throwing this in this very random, but I could have seen him being successful with a Camille.
Yes,
Because Camille is like
absolutely.
the way she kind of worked. I cannot remember her husband's name at the moment, but the way she was like, he doesn't have like he doesn't have like the style, the swagger, but she ended up like working and kind
Hmm.
of molding with it, and he
Hmm.
was able to take more initiative and take more of a lead with her, and like
Hmm.
she kind of like fell into her place with him. I could have seen the same type of temperament work for Kevon in that sense.
Absolutely. Completely agree. That in fact, I think he would have been better on a show where his match was picked for him. Like I think
Yes,
that he would have done good on Married at First Sight. He doesn't need to
absolutely.
make the decision. Put him with someone and let's just see if he can commit to it because he seems like a nice
Yes.
enough guy, but like take the decision making out of the
Yes. There is
process.
nothing wrong with him as a whole. I just don't think that this
No,
process was best for his
great.
personality.
I love that. We need to keep that in mind as we're talking so that we can throw in a couple of more people who we think should have been on Married at First Sight versus Love is Blind.
Yeah.
Now, this next section, I might have you take point on because when Ashley, Priyanka, and Alex were
Mm.
finally talking, the only thing that I took away from this conversation, because my ADHD goes like this when Ashley and Alex start talking about timelines. Only thing I got is that he finally admitted that him and Priyanka knew each other and she was friends with his ex. That's all I got.
I will take a hold of
Like,
this segment for you, Leah.
okay.
So first of all, I kind of want to go back to episode 9 for a split
Okay.
second. Alec, Alan, whoever this guy is, the way he played on episode 9 when Priyanka is walking in and he's standing with the two other guys and they go, "Oh, who is that?" And he goes, I don't know, Priyanka, maybe. I don't. That's what I'm guessing. Just to find out that they know each other
Mm-hmm.
personally,
Mm-hmm.
that was the biggest red flag, timeline or not. That moment right there, I was like, why is this guy so shifty with somebody that he clearly knows? Like running the same
Mm-hmm.
friend group, like you know this girl. For now,
Mm-hmm.
when they sit down, that is when Ashley finds out, okay, they know each other a little bit more than maybe she knew. Okay, interesting. That's one thing. Priyanka, the queen that you are, when she goes, "Oh yeah, when you were living in Austin," and you kind of see him like ever so slightly, like, "Oh yeah, we ran into each other." Alex
Mm.
is playing fast and loose with his words, and that is what is getting him caught up. He is the
Mm-hmm.
king of, I didn't say that exactly. So if I didn't say
Yeah.
that exactly, I didn't lie about that.
Mm-hmm.
When we just watch Ashley ask you your full timeline from Austin. Again, we're going to go back to episode 8 or 9. And he
Mm-hmm.
clearly says, I was visiting Austin to see people. And I saw my ex while I was there. But he,
Mm-hmm.
the assumption that we can make is that he was there for a vacation, a trip, a short period of time, and he made a pit stop, hung out with his ex, and then continued on to his trip. That is what we are
Right.
gathering from the Ashley and Alex conversation before we get to this group shared thing. When we're at
Right.
this group event and Priyanka's like, "Oh no, you were living with your ex, the travel nurse." When she said that, my mind was blown
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, the travel nurse is the one that you've been talking about this whole time with Ashley. Just to find out
Mm-hmm.
that you told Priyanka that you were living with her when she ran into you in Austin. And you see
Mm.
Alex kind of be like, I mean, did I tell you that? Again, fast and loose with his words. Did I tell you
Mm.
that? He's looking for that specific line that he said to her. And Priyanka's like, I'm glad she stood firm. And I'm glad she sat there, as uncomfortable as that
Mm-hmm.
conversation was, because she was fact checking him in real time.
Mm-hmm.
So for, yeah, for him
Mm-hmm.
to say like, did I tell you that? No, no, no. We weren't living together. I stayed with her. You stayed with her is totally different from, I was in Austin and I
Mm.
saw my ex.
You know why you want to know I'm remembering why this didn't move me in any capacity. It's because Alex is a professional couch surfer and he calls it being a nomad. No, no, no.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't plant roots anywhere and he stays with whoever he knows but based off of convenience of like where he's at. So like when I found out that while he was visiting Austin, aka living with leeching off of his ex on his ex or on his ex's couch, that didn't surprise me because like that's how I picture him being. Like
Mm-hmm.
I picture him being the guy who crashes on the couch and wouldn't say that he lived with somebody because well, they're not still together. Like he wouldn't consider it that serious of a relationship. Well, we're not together anymore. I
Yeah.
stayed at her place. She let me stay with her. Like he's very like dodges
Mm-hmm.
things. So I think that's why to me I was completely unsurprised. But I also think it sunk in for me too that like Ashley like truly must care about him because like the patience that she has to sit there and try to sift through these details, I zone out. Like I don't care. He's clearly lying.
Yeah,
I would walk away from that conversation and be like, "You're full of bullshit. Don't even talk to me about your timeline anymore. You're as confused as I am now. Like I
absolutely.
don't even want to hear about it." And I have to ask you, did any piece of you, or is this like, is there any part of you that feels like Ashley and Alex, because they're similar in different capacities? Like they're both very vain, they're both very superficial about certain things, they're both MAGA. But do you think that both of them sort of share this? They kind of are both invasive. Like he wants to track her cycles and like wants to know the ins and out of when her period is coming and expects to be told the day that she starts bleeding. And she wants to know like the exact timeline of like when he was with each girl, how long he was with them. Do you feel like they both are like very prying at all?
So first, I want to go back. I meant to send you this before this podcast. Their recent update with Alex, Alec, Alan, whomever, that he posted his Airbnb information to say that this is when he was in Austin. Again, the assumption we can kind of make based off of their one-on-one
Uh-huh.
conversation is that he was going through Austin. You know, his Airbnb
Mm-hmm.
thing says he was there from like November to February. So first of all, that's not you moving through. He and then in that
Mm-hmm.
conversation at the table, he's saying, "Well, I was there for F1. F1 lasts for 3 months. I don't. I'm not into racing like that.
He said he was
Anyways,
there for F1.
yes, that is what he was claiming at the table. So that aside, I just wanted to add that little bit of context to say that again, Alex is playing fast and loose with his words
Yes.
and how he is describing where he is being. Now, when we talk about the invasive part, I would combat using the word invasive. I feel like Alex is being hyper vigilant, maybe in not the best way, about her period because he doesn't have stability right now. And
Mm.
he says that he doesn't understand women and their cycles, and I can honestly believe that from him. And I think of course, we don't see all their conversations in the pods about children, but I think Ashley like is pretty gung ho about like getting married. We're gonna move. We're gonna have kids probably, even though that's not her like immediate right now. I feel like that kind of put him up on guard. And now did he go about that conversation correctly? No, not at all. I think that was
Because
really
Priyanka's
sloppy.
sitting there and eventually, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just
Mhm.
trying to figure out how, as Priyanka's sitting there still, we end up with the quote from Alex. If you want to know every time I jerk off, I'll tell you.
It
How
just
did we get there?
Oh, let me tell you about how we got there. Because he's trying to duck out of that conversation. He wants to kind of put it in her
Okay.
face to be like, well, if you want to know every single thing about me, he's shifty. Again, he's really good with the conversation.
Okay.
It's not what he's saying, it's what he's not saying. And what he's not saying in that moment is so you want to be all up in my business right now, and you even want to know when I'm touching myself, or and whatever the case may be. It's not what he's saying. He's
I see. He
using
was over exaggerating.
yes to get out of that conversation. Now, if we talk about invasiveness from Ashley's side, I don't think that Ashley is being invasive either. I think Ashley is confused. And what's the best way to
We
not
all
be
are.
hello, we all are. He keeps putting out more information and it's making us more confused. The best way to not be confused is to ask for clarity. And for her to ask for clarity is to be really
Mm-hmm.
succinct about who you were
Mm.
with, where you were, how long you were there, because he's not been forthcoming and totally flat out honest
Mm-hmm.
about anything. And we see
Mm-hmm.
that even in
Mm-hmm.
the conversation with her dad. I'm shout out to her
Oh my
dad.
God.
The build up of questions was amazing. I think every father should be doing that for their children. But when her dad goes, when he says, "Oh yeah, I'm in finance," did you study finance or are you just doing finance? That is how, if we just take that one 30-second clip from that meeting and apply that to everything Alex has said, that is why Ashley is like, I need more details because you're giving me this, but you really mean that. And when we
Mm-hmm.
get to
Mm-hmm.
that, it ends up being all of this. Fast and loose with his
I had to
words.
I had something to say about him meeting Ashley's dad, but it totally is slipping my mind right now. Um, it may or may not come back to me,
But I
but
also don't think that Alex is as MAGA as he would want to believe. I,
oh, I know what I was gonna say, but you first.
I mean that's essentially it because Alex is like, I'm MAGA and I share the same values as your dad. But if you were, you would be ready to provide, take care of her, start a family, settle down. And what it sounds like to me is you want to, well, kind of go do soccer and kind of go do this and move here, there, and everywhere. And if we have children at this time frame, then cool. So it's just there's a lot of question marks about Alex as a whole.
Alex is a basic representation of a white man who should be progressive and isn't. And I think that he is definitely still MAGA, but I think that he tries to act like he's uninformed. You know what I mean? Like I definitely think that him and like he was what was he, a black, is that even true? He said he was he the one who was a Black Hawk military pilot, or was that Chris?
I don't believe any. I can't even
We
remember. Couldn't tell you. Here's the thing. I think
couldn't
that
tell
just
you.
couldn't tell you. I think the distinction is Alex is Republican, but not MAGA.
I think he's MAGA. I do.
Okay.
I do. Maybe I'm wrong.
I
Like
mean,
I'm so curious to think
we
what
could both
everybody.
be wrong. There's not enough evidence for anything with Alex right now. It's all over the place.
I feel like because there's one thing that I didn't pick up on that like I didn't get until more people were talking about. And it's like I thought that Ashley really wanted to have sex while she was on her period in a prior episode. And I thought that the issue was that he did not want to have sex with her and they hadn't had sex for 5 days. And like that's why she was having an issue with it. And I was like, okay, that's a little much, like not everybody wants to have period sex. Like some people pass out at the sight of blood. So like if that's true, I can't blame somebody for not wanting to have period sex.
Mhm.
But then a lot of people online were talking about that Alex wouldn't touch her at all. Like she was having a conversation where she said, like, he puts a pillow as a barrier
Yeah.
between them when they sleep at night in bed. And so I feel like him feeling like he can't even hug her or touch her, combined with him feeling like he is going to be trapped by her, like it all feels like very like incel to me. Even his like pipeline dream of like, I want this in Dubai and I want a house in Florida, like the way that he like um puts himself up to like the level of being at like Cristiano Ronaldo and David Beckham, talks about popular soccer stars. Like I think that level of delusion screams MAGA to me, is basically what I was getting at.
I think he's an internet bro. He's been on the internet for too long.
100%.
Because first of all, what is a trust in Dubai? What are we talking about?
What is that?
What is a
I
trust in
need to see a
Dubai?
direct quote
You can get, that's
of
what he said. I can see myself living in Florida with a house, having a trust in Dubai, traveling with my
yeah.
wife. And like, what is a trust in Dubai? You get a,
What is a safe house in Queenstown, New Zealand? Because he said that as well.
again,
5 year. I have the quote.
it's so much
It,
information about Alex. Like, there's just, it's like internet. It is AI slop. That is what Alex
all
is.
I wanted to agree about with Ashley's dad is that yeah, I definitely appreciated his follow-up questioning. Like even he didn't let Alex just answer anything without further questioning. Like he was like, my dad was in and on my life. He was kind of a bad guy. Okay, bad how? And Alex is like abusive, abusive how? Like he wanted to know every single detail. So I appreciated that. What I think is so interesting about Ashley, her dad, and Alex is all three of them are like super defensive. Like they are almost always like like trying to catch you at
Mhm.
something. And like because of that, like it puts people like really defensive, but like Alex is the same way. Like he did it when he talked to Ashley about her boss and
Yep.
if she's ready to be a nomad and move to Arizona. Um okay, so thank you for explaining that. They all talked. Chris, after Priyanka walks away, oh, because Alex just basically dismisses her. Like
Mhm.
he's like, "So what are you doing here anyways?" And she's like, "Well,
Anyways.
yeah, I don't want to be here anyways. Like I guess that's how you two talk to each other, but I'll remove myself." Um and Chris has this crazy look in his eyes because he should have been sent home hours ago. Like he was drunk when he got there because he
Yep.
was late immediately. So he asked to talk to Jess privately and he's very unserious, like he can't even have a serious conversation. He's laughing and basically he tries to tell her what makes her attractive and she removes herself from this conversation and tells him that she doesn't need that validation for him. Do you have anything to add to him wanting to pull her aside?
I think it's an ego thing for Chris. You just got turned down from Bree, who you were hoping would go for you because
Good call.
duh, because yeah, Bree, you swear you know that Bree wants to be with you, and then that not cracking out. I also want to note that he went up to Connor and tried to dap Connor up. That was also very, very, very strange, very drunk. And then you grab
Hmm.
Jess drunkenly and pull her over to the side. It's an ego thing. He's getting turned down from women that he never thought he would get turned down from. He never thought that Jess would turn him down either. I firmly believe that when
Hmm.
he brought up that conversation with them sitting on the sofa and was like, I've been highly thinking about my number two. And I don't know. I feel, did you feel the attraction? I think he wanted Jess to grovel. And she did not do that. And she didn't do that while they were out at this mystery Columbus bar. And I feel like that he got ego hits back to back to back. I think him walking up to Connor, he wanted to puff out
Hmm.
his chest a little bit, and Connor didn't take the bait. Again, that's not who Connor is. So that's almost like a, well, Connor's not even asking me about what I spoke about with Bree. I'm gonna go grab Jess. He tries to grab Jess, and Jess is like, I don't need you to validate me. And he's like, oh, okay. So he took a lot of ego hits at that gathering.
And he's just an embarrassment. Like, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you saw that his ex girlfriend went on Reality Steve's podcast. Did you see that?
No.
Okay, so his ex girlfriend went on Reality Steve's podcast and she played some voicemails from Chris, and all of them are telling her that she's worthless, lots of flying fucks thrown out around there. Um, Lots of whores thrown out, like the way that he thinks that he can talk to women, like there's clearly a theme there. And he also mm, had this that same way about him where he just like makes no sense. Like I remember one part of the voicemail, he was like, "Yeah, so call me back. Actually, go fuck yourself. You're probably blocked, but I'll hear from you in an hour." Like and like that's how he ended their call after he's like ranting at her for 10 minutes. So like he just is a typical white man with no confidence who gets belligerent and drunk and tries to make other people feel bad about themselves. I also knew as soon as I saw his picture on Instagram, the way that he facetuned himself, that he was not going to be a normal person. Like you clearly are
Yeah.
delusional with what you look like,
I think
and that's an issue already.
if we go back to episode one, he clearly states what his issue is. It's that he's tiny. And he has had problems with him being tiny. Remember in episode one, he goes, I don't have to deal with, the height thing because this love is blind. It all comes down to him being a tiny little man. Speaking of that, shout out to Connor. We'll get to Connor and Bree scene, but maybe, I don't know if you have this written down in your notes, but when they talk after the bar scene and Connor goes, how was your conversation with little man? I was dying laughing. So it really comes down to height for Chris.
I also laughed when he said that Chris is 5'6", and Bree won't go after anybody shorter than 5'9", so he's not worried about him.
Yes.
That made me laugh too.
That is
Yes,
Connor's
Connor, get your lick back.
masculinity. His masculinity is in that. Think Connor is very
I love that.
confident. He's confident, he's assured of
Agreed.
himself. And there's no reason for him to come up to Bree and make sure Bree is good. That's not his style. There's no
Love
reason
it.
for him to start a argument with Chris after Chris tries to come up and talk to him at the bar. That's not Connor. Connor is
Hmm.
really assured of himself.
And he's obsessed with Brie. Like he
Yes.
truly, really, like really
Unfortunately.
likes her. He's infatuated with her. Will do stuff for her. So completely agree. After this party, everybody goes home, and I don't really have much to say about Ashley and Alex other than they're still talking about the timeline for the ex. And the conversation ends with him ordering her 10-piece nug, large Coke and fry, which I will say is honestly a pretty good McDonald's order.
It is.
Like, don't love Ashley and Alex, but I do think that's a good drunk order. Then we check in with Amber and Jordan, and they are in an argument because he expressed the fears that he was having surrounding them getting married. He still hasn't met her daughter. And she is just icing him out, giving him the cold shoulder in bed under the blankets, doesn't want to talk. I felt like, first of all, she's completely in the wrong, right?
Mhm.
Like, every fear that he's feeling is completely rational. You guys get married in less than a week. He has not met Emma, your 7-year-old daughter, and he shouldn't just be meeting her once. Like he should be have met her multiple times by now to kind of get a feel for what role he would be playing in her life, and to sort of see like how Amber's life looks different than like what he's experiencing with her right now. And so I completely understand why he's upset. The only like take that I have, and this is like nothing against Jordan. I don't think he did anything wrong because her reaction was wrong. But I think that because everybody was so drunk,
Yeah.
that it really wasn't the best time to bring up your fears. It probably would have been better earlier in the day or the next day, so I don't think that was the best time to bring it up. That's the only bone or piece of grace I'll throw Amber to that situation, because I still really like Amber, but her reaction was like, no, he's valid. What did you think?
I totally agree. I will say the conversation should have come up earlier, like you said. And
Much earlier.
everybody was so drunk. But I think that's the fun thing about these group outings is everybody gets so drunk. Oh my God, it's hilarious. Um, and I will agree with Amber on one part where he has not verbalized how nervous he is. Maybe he said, I'm nervous, but not really said like I'm actually very nervous. Like, I really wish we could have done this
Hmm.
more often or a little bit sooner. I can understand why she wouldn't introduce him sooner, because this is a really quick experiment. So I understand her hesitancy, but I do agree with you on they should have had more than one encounter, um,
Hmm.
because they're a package deal. But
Hmm.
uh, Amber was drunk. Amber was tripping. You cannot expect a man who doesn't have children to be like, absolutely, I'm ready to be a stepdad and I have no fear about it. I've never met your daughter before. We met 2 weeks before, but fuck it, let's go. I'm gung ho about this. That is unrealistic as hell. And I thought it was. I think her hiding under the cover was her being drunk. It's just too emotional.
Agreed. Agreed. I don't think she was at a place to be able to deal with that conversation or how to respond to it. And I
Hmm.
think that, yeah, sometimes people shut down rather than engage in something that they wouldn't be proud of.
But I'm glad she shut down in that moment because they were just too drunk. Both of them were drunk. The conversation
Exactly.
would
They didn't
not
need
have
to have the
gone.
talk.
Yeah, no. So you don't want to shut down sober, but in this situation, I'm kind of glad that she shut down and I'm glad that they took some space. But I do want
Hmm.
to, if we get to her coming back, I have a comment about her coming back to the apartment.
Okay. So we go from Amber and Jordan's apartment. Oh, mind you, she did say to him in anger, like, if you don't want to be together, then let's not be together. Like if you're having fears, then let's not be together. But even when she said it, I didn't really think that that was like a genuine feeling that she was having.
No,
So that's just one more thing to add.
maybe she was just being emotional.
Agreed. And then we go to check in with Bree, telling Connor what Chris said about her. Because, like you said, he asked her what little man said, and she gave him the rundown. Now, this is my impression. My impression of Bree is that she downplays her conversation with Chris. Like, she makes it seem like she got the ick from Chris. I don't feel like she got the ick from Chris. At least she stood around. She should have got the ick way earlier in the conversation. Like, you don't get points for being icked out at the last moment after standing there for 25 minutes plus. So I feel like she minimized that conversation to Connor, which comes back around when she puts her blape on in the next episode.
Wait,
do you have anything to add? Her blazer cape.
A blape. I knew exactly what you meant. That is so perfect. It was a blape. Wow. I hate those too. They don't do anything for your shoulders, ladies. No, I don't. I think she got the ick from Chris just being drunk, but I think Chris was validating her enough for her to stay in that conversation and continue to get validated. I also think Chris spoke to all of her inner thoughts. And that is why she stood in that conversation for a little bit longer, because Chris was saying things that she was already feeling a type of way about.
And that's what I mean about Mr. and Mrs. MAGA. Like the two of them feel the same way, and she views masculinity through the same weird lens that like Chris does. And honestly, that I think Ashley and her dad do. Like Ashley and his dad saying that he's the patriarch, and her mother never saying one word. Mind you, Ashley. Wait, what are you about to say?
I feel like her mom did say something, but the editors edited it all out.
Okay, they might have, but I feel like her mom was like hostage.
I have a really hard time thinking that her mom didn't say anything, and I have a hard time thinking that her brother didn't say anything either. I just think that what her dad was saying was so much bigger that they were like, fuck the rest of the family. We're only going to.
Okay, you might be right. The mom may have said a couple of words. However, she didn't get invited to Ashley's wedding dress try on. And I thought that that was interesting because like a lot of the other girls had their moms with them. Now, again, maybe Ashley's mom just doesn't say anything. So maybe they didn't show her. Maybe they're like, that's not the interesting part of the episode. So maybe she was there.
But we get a clip at that dinner and you can see her brother was saying something, but they edited to only show like her brother doing this really weird motion at the end of the table. And I was like, her brother was saying something. And I feel like her brother was asking out. Yeah, I don't like how they edited that because I have a hard time believing that her mom was just.
Right, because it's looking like children should be seen and not heard. Wives should be like, that's what it felt like. It was like, is Ashley's like blink twice if you need a rescue?
Because when her mom first came in, her mom was really like boisterous and like, so nice to meet you. You can hear her voice in the background.
I can't wait to hear the comments say about this particular section and what people thought of Ashley's mom. Do you think that she talked a lot? Do you not? Bree did tell Connor, because this obviously was still sitting in her mind. Like you said, he spoke to a lot of her intrusive thoughts. But I think that Bree brought up, did you pick me? Like whatever Chris tried to plant in her head, I don't even know how to phrase it, but did you put me as number one when you really wanted to be with Emma? And he basically laughed at that and was like, why would I do that? Why does that make sense? And we already said that, so I don't think there's much to add. Like we agree. Why does that make sense? So we go to Christine and Vic, and this is the first time we've seen them this episode, and they are building a wedding bouquet together. That's it. Like that's all. That's my one note that I have about them this episode. Obligatory note.
I don't.
Anything to say about them?
I don't know what Netflix was doing with Vic and Christine. Honestly, I saw somebody talking about them on TikTok earlier, and I was like, "Who the hell is Vic and Christine?" I absolutely forgot that they were there but not there. I wish that we just would have never seen them at all. Just like they do the other couples that get engaged and they don't show. I think what may have happened, I can't even tell what happened. I think maybe they're the only ones that say yes at the altar, and maybe Netflix is like, we gotta get a yes at the altar this season. Like, I don't.
Mhm.
Maybe they picked it up in the middle of the season and realized actually they're kind of working out. Because what we don't ever see is for the other couples that don't get picked to go on the honeymoon, do they do the same thing, almost like a test run? Just send them on a vacation somewhere and you guys document, and then we will
Mm.
review while we're filming, and then we might add them in because we've never seen this before, and it seems like a mistake that wasn't supposed to be a mistake. So I would love to hear from the other couples from previous seasons that, like, if you didn't get picked to go on the bigger filmed honeymoon, did they send you still somewhere stateside with your own camera, review, and then decide if they want to pick up with you later on? I'm really over it though. I don't like it. It's like either give us the whole thing or give us nothing.
Agreed.
I watched Raych Jackson on TikTok, and she had a really good cover of this. And the way she said it was she believes that they will say yes because if they say no, we have no context about why they would be saying no to each other.
Mhm.
So
100%.
I don't know.
And I think that they are getting an edit because, too, I feel like they aren't having enough drama to think
Mm-hmm.
that that's interesting. But I think that it's a mistake to not give us some background. Like we
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen anything but deep conversations with them. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything that they're talking about is usually some sort of deep conversation. We don't see them ever have an argument. We don't see them ever, I don't know, do something like fun and spontaneous. Like everything
Mm-hmm.
is like very serious and very like almost like one note. Like it's
Yeah.
very like they're walking in a park, they're inside a quiet area. Like there's nothing exciting
And I
going
also
on
don't know if
there.
Netflix is trying to, or just the producers of Love is Blind is trying to tease us into testing the audience to see if we like a more subdued storyline, which personally, if you have a couple that is just boringly working out, because most relationships are kind of boring. They're having a good time with just being themselves. If you put a camera in my house right now, it's boring, okay? In the
Yeah.
best way. So I feel like if you have a show with so much drama, like I'm okay with you guys having a boring couple that works out in the end. Like by all means,
Mhm.
please. I don't really want to see every single season all of the
Agreed.
drama just to get to the end and everybody says no. Then you're like, this programming doesn't work. So I'm wondering if the producers are like trying to do an audience test with Christine and Vic as well. But again, just give us their whole thing. Don't
Mhm.
piecemeal us these few little moments and then film a wedding. If they say no at this wedding, I'm going to be annoyed.
Hmm.
I'm going to be like, why did y'all even show us this at all?
100%. Completely agree. Yeah, and I don't think that they're, I mean this in the nicest way because not everybody is like meant to be entertaining on reality TV, but
Mm-hmm.
like I don't think that they're like entertaining. Like Brett and Tiffany were quote unquote boring in the best way. Like they were still fun to watch on TV. And yeah, maybe it's because we're not seeing them for enough, or maybe it's just because Vic and Christine are kind of like a little bit boring. But yeah, they're not that fun to watch either. So I completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
We go from them building their bouquet to Brittany talking to Devante in her basement, talking bills, talking her $1,200 mortgage, her $1,800 total in bills. And as someone from Ohio, it's such a catch 22. I'm like, do I want to go back to Ohio? Because in New Jersey, a $1,200 mortgage sounds fucking great.
Hello.
Like that. But living in Ohio,
Oh.
it's it's tough.
We'll get to this when we just continue to discuss this conversation between the two of them in her house. Um, my thing with Brittany is I feel like Brittany wanted to be married so bad. And it was
Mhm.
very clear to the producers that she was ready, willing to do and accept almost anything to be married. Buying that wedding dress,
That's what I mean.
girl,
That's crazy.
that's a it's
It's first of all, it's dated. Like, it's not even in style anymore. Why would you buy your wedding dress years in advance? I can't
I didn't
understand.
understand that. And then also when I saw the dress, I was like, didn't the other girl just try on a similar dress that looked a little more
Exactly.
like done up?
Cute?
Cute,
Yeah.
cute, yes. So her buying her wedding dress so far in advance definitely made me understand the headspace that she was in. And
Agreed.
you go on Love is Blind. I think her and Devontae had really good conversations in the pod. I do have my opinions about why Devontae is not feeling her now.
Mhm.
I think we all know why he's not feeling her right now, and it's because
Mhm.
she's black. That is not his
Mhm.
type. But for her, what I told my fiance is I feel like she's not being direct with how Devontae is treating her or not treating her
100%.
because it's not anything that is super concrete. And that is a really scary place to be in, especially on a show like this, because usually if you're breaking things off, people want a very direct, concrete reason why. And I think in her head, she can't form that concrete reason. There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, which I feel like is enough to kind of, especially on the show, to be like, there's too many factors up in the air, cutting it off. But when she brings up her issues with affection and intimacy to him, he's basically like, I hear you. I totally get that. I'll work on that. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Affirming what she's asking for, but then just not really evolving and developing on that. He might do it a little bit. We do notice that they share more kisses now. They share a little bit more physical intimacy in some way now. But I feel like she's really struggling with the fact that like she can't quite put her finger on it. And I think that
Mm.
that is Devontae's fault because he's still affirming
Hmm.
her and still giving her, he's breadcrumbing her essentially. She's dropping the breadcrumbs down. And I think he's doing the same thing for himself.
It's so interesting because I don't even know if I think Devontae's breadcrumbing her. Like I might have to go back and rewatch it, but I don't think that he's agreed to work on anything because as she always ends their conversations by saying, that's just how you are. And like it's something that I've learned to love about you, or it's just something that I'm going to have to accept.
Hmm.
And then I feel like he's just always like, yeah, like
If
I'm
you
glad that you realize that.
if you go back to some of their conversations, he definitely says at some point, like, okay, I've been working through this, but I hear you. I got you. I do want to do this
Okay.
better. So he is doing that a little bit. Um,
Okay.
but still, she's kind of got it wrapped in her head that like, well, if he doesn't do it to the extent that I want him to do it, then that's okay. That's just not his thing, but I'm expressing it. And the reason why their conversations keep coming back to the same thing is because he'll do a
Hmm.
little bit and stop. He'll do a
And because
little
she
bit
won't be
and
the one
stop.
to walk away. That's what
Yes.
I think. I think that that mindset of getting your wedding dress and being ready to commit to the process, whatever that
Mhm.
looks like, so that at least she can say, I showed up, I committed to this,
Mhm.
I was ready to find my husband. Like it, like you said, like, yeah, like unless he just says, I'm leaving, I'm not interested in you, she's
Mhm.
just going to accept whatever he's giving her because it's not just he's walking out the door right now with a packed suitcase.
Correct.
Obvious.
I think she'll say
Mm-hmm.
no at the altar, but I think everything leading up to it has not been enough to justify in her head leaving him before the altar, which sucks. And I don't think that he's going to leave her before the altar because I think
Mm-hmm.
he's building up for his concrete reason as well. And he definitely does not have a concrete reason, except for the fact that she is a woman of color.
Yes.
That is the
Yes.
when me and my fiance were talking on the couch, I kind of
Mm.
we were reflecting back on previous episodes that led up to this conversation on her couch. And I was like, she's always bringing something up and asking for feedback or for him to like vocalize what he needs, and he never does. He never says, well, I need you to work on this, or I've noticed this,
Right.
and I would like more of this.
Mm-hmm.
He never does that at
Mm-hmm.
all. So
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't have a concrete reason for walking away from her. So I feel like he's waiting until the altar to do that. And I think she doesn't really feel like, again, in her head, that she has enough of a concrete reason to say no before they get to the altar either. She wants to wear that damn wedding dress. And that's sad.
That's that's what she wants to do. She wants to wear the wedding dress. And she's saying to him, like, I am having my family come. Like, I wouldn't have them come here unless I think that we're actually going to do the thing.
And I believe
I
her.
think, me too. I do too. I think she might say yes, and I think he's going to say no. I hope that he answers first. I hope
Yeah,
she doesn't even have to answer. I hope he just goes, says no, so that, that doesn't have to happen.
please.
But he just saw her lash studio, mind you, by the way, and he was like not complimentary. He
Mm-mm.
wasn't very complimentary. He didn't really care. And especially
Mm-mm.
comparing him, Chris, their reactions to how Jordan received all the renovations that Amber did, I feel like it's just such a stark difference in
Mm-hmm.
how they're willing to root for their women.
Absolutely. It's because they don't like them.
They're incels. A lot of these guys are incels. Like that's what it's going to come down to. For a lot of the guys, they're Ohio alt-right pipeline. They're incels. I want to say this though. As Brittany's talking about her bills, something that really pissed me off, and I think it was in this conversation and I just forgot to write it. Devontae says that he's in sales, making anywhere from $12,000 to $40,000 a month, and that if Brittany runs out of her money to not come looking into his pocket. That pissed me off because I'll never understand that. Like it's one thing if you say like I don't even know it's okay. But like if you're making $40,000 a month and your wife asks for I don't know, $600, $800, who even cares what the amount is and you have it? Like my whole thing is like people who hoard stuff and like say no for no reason. If you're making $40,000 a month, that's almost $500,000 in a year. Like you can afford to have your wife ask for money every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he's a weirdo, but I get him wanting a prenup. That's the only thing I agree with him on. I get him wanting a prenup. You disagree?
I disagree on both of those things. I don't think he would have had beef with her saying, with him being like, I make X amount of money, and if you run out of it, if he liked her, he just doesn't like her. That conversation would have never been had with
Mm,
another woman that he found physically attracted to, that he would not be telling her that. I strongly believe that. I think his disappointment started after his grandfather passed and they opened those doors and he saw who it was. I think he was like, I didn't go to my grandfather's funeral because I thought I was going to leave with a different kind of Brittany, not this
mm,
Brittany, which
mm-hmm,
changed his whole demeanor going into their honeymoon. They wouldn't have had that conversation about that hickey if Brittany looked like a different Brittany. He wouldn't
mm.
be as stingy with his money if Brittany looked like a different Brittany. If Brittany was Christine, and Christine was saying, oh my God, that's how much you make? Oh, he'd be like, yeah, I got you, girl. I
I literally
guarantee.
was like, who the fuck's Christine?
Again.
Like that it took oh my God, I'm like, Christine. Okay,
But
yes,
yeah,
Christine.
if
Yes.
Brittany looked like a different Brittany, the Brittany that he was expecting, that
Mm,
conversation would not be had. And I also have that same conversation with prenups. I don't think prenups are bad. I think prenups protect
agreed.
you. He clearly makes good money. Sales is a good lucrative career. Only reason
Mm-hmm,
why he brought up that prenup was to give him more of a concrete reason to say no.
mm,
Because Brittany
mm-hmm.
clearly totally thrown off about that prenup conversation.
Yes.
That came out of nowhere. And this is like how many days before the wedding? You haven't
Mhm,
brought up no
mhm.
prenup yet since. That was crazy. But that's because he doesn't have any concrete reasons to say no to Brittany. So he's like looking for reasons to say no. And one of those reasons would be, well, if you don't want to sign the prenup, then we can't move forward. It's all an excuse.
I completely agree with everything you said, and the only thing I'd like to add is, first of all, I definitely agree that Devontae's anti-black. I also definitely think that he's that there's issues going on with his identity,
He
with what
said
he's
it. He
expecting.
actually
Right.
said it. His dad was not in his life. If you go and
Right.
look at his pictures on Instagram, he was raised by his mother, who was white, and grew up with his mother's family, who was all white. He grew up in Ohio, and it looks like around all white people.
Well, he called himself Devo. I've never heard of that. So as soon as he called himself Devo on the casting photo, like I thought he was Italian at first, like as we're going into
Mm-hmm.
the season. Like I wasn't sure what was going on there. But my only thing I'd like to add is, while I agree with everything about how the treatment would be different if his preference walked out that door because of his anti-blackness and just general racism, I also just don't think that he's compassionate. I don't think he's in tune with his emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't, I, you know, I have to go back and look and let me know in the comments if anybody's like super up to date. But one of his exes like came out and just did an interview with
Mm-hmm.
Ricky, Storytime with Ricky and Ashley on their podcast. And it sort of seemed like he was like a shitty, like he just seems like somebody who doesn't really like women. Like it seems like he doesn't, and maybe that's something with like men do this weird thing where the parent who's present and their mother, they have like all of this anger towards because the parent who was absent,
Mm-hmm.
there's really no feelings towards. So like maybe he's having issues towards women in general, but he just doesn't strike me as like a feeling person no matter who he's with ever. Like I just think he just doesn't seem kind. Is that odd?
No, no, I can totally understand that. Oftentimes, when you grow up with one parent and the other parent is absent, the energy that you would have for the absent parent doesn't have anywhere to go. And that energy ends up
Exactly.
deflecting onto the other
Hmm.
parent or any other parental figure around you. With
Hmm.
Devontae, I feel like he's trying to be nice, failing,
Trying.
trying to
Hmm.
be nice because the cameras are there. Again, they would not if there were no cameras, if this was an unfilmed experience and all you could do was write about it afterwards, as soon as those doors opened, he would have been out. He would have left. But I think both of them were committed to what they heard about each other in the pods, and they just keep going back to them in the pods
Hmm.
and not the reality of what the situation is right in front of them.
It's also strange that I don't believe during this entire time there's been much focus on. We know that he didn't go home for his grandmother's funeral, but
Hmm.
we haven't really checked in with his family about that. It hasn't been brought up. If the anti blackness wasn't present, I would definitely be having more compassion towards him and would be
Hmm.
like, he's emotionally tapped. He should have gone home. He's
Hmm.
not going to be himself. He's grieving. He's mourning. This is not a normal situation. But it's like, unfortunately, that's not all that it is. Like, yes, that's probably present on this situation. So I'll acknowledge that yes, he lost his grandmother,
Hmm.
and that's probably impacting how he's being received. But additionally, because of the feelings that he has, he's not trying. There's no effort. He's not
Yep,
caring.
absolutely.
So let's talk about wedding dress day because we're still on episode 10, everybody, and we're getting to the part. This is like honestly the most boring part to me, even
I
more boring than the
don't care about
pods.
any of this.
The bachelor parties and trying on dresses. I could
Weird.
care less. All I'll say about this is Brittany brought her own dress. Alex is trying on his tux, and he says to his friends that he's not nervous at all. He says, I bring a sense of emotionless, like a rock. I'm very comfortable in situations like this. It feels like a relatively normal day for me. Alex is Alex, I would walk away on the street and not talk to Alex. Like it, Alex, you're I don't know.
He's so
You're
full
kind
of
of
it.
insane.
He's just so
You're
full of
so
it.
full of it.
He's
That's what
he, he's trying
that's
to
the
say the
verbiage.
right things. He's trying to be the guy that looks like I'm all good. I got it. This is figured out. Like I don't. It's so much about Alex. We could have had a whole episode about Alex. I do want to call out. Like I do think that the wedding dress and the tux fittings are boring, and so are the stupid bachelor and bachelorette parties. They're ridiculously boring. Something that kind of tipped me off though about Bree a one and getting ready to say no,
Mm,
is her dress was awful. And you could tell she did not love that dress.
mhm,
Everybody else got the
mm,
wow,
mhm.
oh my gosh. And I get that if you're not that kind of person, like you're just not that kind of person. But when she put that dress on
Mhm.
and she was like, I don't know. And her friends and family were like, she's like, I just feel like I should be doing something different. And her friends were like, just do what feels right for you. Like this is totally you. And I'm looking at this dress, I'm like, this is Brie.
Right.
This dress is Brie. And she just kind of said, she was like,
Mhm.
yeah, I guess it is me. As soon as she said that, I was like, oh no, Tyra Connor, she's not going for it. No, because everybody else was excited. Everybody else was like, wow, I love this. Even if you don't know if you're going to say yes, everybody was really like, this is really beautiful. They might still be heavily on the fence with their partners. Brie clocked out as soon as she stood on that podium.
You're so right, and I'm laughing because I'm imagining Brie being like, "You know what this is missing? Get me my blape." Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe she needed that. Like, instead of like get the veil. Like maybe she needed her comfort shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
her protector, her blape before she went in there. But you're so spot on because when you don't care what dress you're walking down the aisle in,
Mm-hmm.
listen, I think some people are like, whatever, to their Love is Blind wedding. Like, we're going to redo this shit after. So I love it enough. But
Yeah.
there's still like a reaction, like you said, to like being emotional. Like, I'm doing this thing. I found my husband. Like, this is
Yes.
crazy. And Brie, no.
So flat.
She was like, no, she's like, Chris just texted me. I'm out of here. Like,
I was like,
I'm
what? Also,
gone.
but yeah, the dress, it's a hideous dress for her. It did nothing for anything, anywhere. Oh, that little
It gave drape.
cross, yeah, that little cross
Yeah.
section. I was horrible. What's that little boy that got off the bus? Terrible sandwich, mom. Terrible dress. That's how I felt about that.
And
She
then when her
hated it.
friend's like, that's very her, she hated
She
it.
hated it.
That's why when she was like offended, when her friend's like, oh my God, that's so you. She's like, really?
And then yeah,
Huh.
you're right. Yeah, maybe it is me. What?
Was there anything else? Oh, Brittany trying on her dress, like we said, like it didn't have the moment that I think she was expecting. Like it looked like one of the like she should have started. Like she should have been the first dress to come out because the other girls' dresses, some of them were nicer, some of them looked like Brittany's dress. Like somebody
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Oh, I'm so glad that I wish I brought my dress." But like Brittany got up there, and the first thing that came out of her mouth was like for everybody to set their expectations low on Devontae's reaction because he's a man of few words. And then she had to add, which I've learned to love about him. And that's my issue with Brittany. You don't love that about him. It
Mm-hmm.
bothers you. And it's very, very, very valid that it bothers you. So let's not act like you love that about him. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I also want to shout out the producers for whoever clipped the girl who went right before who essentially was wearing the same kind of dress and then Brittany coming right after. I was like, that was so messy because Brittany, the taupe, the underlay underneath her dress, it dated the dress. You're totally right. It looked like whatever year she bought it in.
That's the problem. Like that's why you can't buy your wedding dress in advance. Like if you want to say F it, wear your mom's wedding dress, like that's like different.
It
You know
has
what
to
I
be a
mean? Like
classic though.
classic and like clear that you're intentionally going vintage.
Hmm.
That just looks like
You bought it in 2017.
Charlotte Russe. I'm so sorry, but
Yes,
it
it
was.
is.
It
I expected a lot more from that dress. I didn't expect for it to have sparkles. I expected it for
no.
it to be form fitting, maybe a mermaid, plain, but like a nice satin. Like this just is totally not what I was envisioning when she was talking about this dress.
Completely agree. That's everything that happened in episode 10. And because we talked for so long, would you want to do you want to wrap it? Like do you still want to get through episode 11? Do you think we should stop here and then pick back up after the reunion? What are you feeling?
Let's wrap it. This was really long. Um,
Agreed.
let's come back after the reunion. I feel like it's gonna be super, super dramatic at the reunion.
I am excited. I heard, like I don't want to say any spoilers, but
I
like
heard a
I
spoiler.
heard you did? Okay, I heard one too. I heard that not about the reunion, but I heard that there's like more yeses on wedding day
I'm
than
not
I would
surprised.
expect there to be.
I'm actually not
Okay.
surprised. I'm not surprised by this group. That's why I was saying, like, the wedding dress situation,
Mm.
how all the girls were super in the moment and getting very emotional and really excited. That gave me like, oh, y'all are saying yes. Will it last? Probably not. But y'all are saying yes. I think Christine is going to be a yes. I think Christine and Vic are going to be a yes. Again, if they say no on decision day, I'm gonna be asking Netflix, why even do their choppy shitty Eddie?
What was the point?
I think Brittany is going
Agreed.
to say yes. I think Devontae is going to say no. I think we
Agreed.
already see Emma say yes. And I think Mike is gonna say yes as well. Um I'm
Okay. I
on
think
the
so too.
fence about Alex, Ashley and Alex. I feel like Ashley's going to say no. I think Alex is going to say yes,
Mhm.
depending on who goes first,
I hope they
right?
both say no.
I
Mhm.
need for them to both say no, but I do think that Alex is
Mhm.
going to try to say yes and try to make it look like he was the good guy and really wanted to see this through because that's what
Mm.
he's trying to do. He's trying to make his image look like he's clear and concise and he's the good guy. So I could see him saying yes, and I think Ashley's going to say no. Who else? Is that everybody? Jordan and Amber.
Amber.
I think they'll say yes.
They're the only ones who I hope say yes. They're the
Yes,
only ones who I think like
correct.
I could like them together.
Yeah.
Yes.
What I was gonna mhm.
I'm really unsure. Oh, I don't know if Mike's gonna say yes. I think he probably will, but like I hate the pretext under which they said yes, which is like we're having kids soon. Like it
Mhm.
just feels really forceful.
I
But
don't
that's my
think
ending thought.
I don't think that they should say yes. I mean, we already see that Emma says yes.
Mhm.
I wish she would have said no. And
Me
even
too.
if Mike would have gone first, I wish Mike would have said no because kids is one of
Mhm.
those things that you have to be on the same page about. And the same page can look
Mhm.
like we don't know. The same page can be like absolutely not, and the same page can be like absolutely yes. And again, you can be
Yes.
on like a I don't know on the same page together because then you both can like
Mhm.
continue to flesh that out. But for one of them to be
Mhm.
like absolutely yes, and the other one to be like maybe, absolutely no,
Mhm.
no, mm-mm,
Especially
mm-mm.
when yeah, like in any situation. But like don't expect to use her womb. Like, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
almost feel like especially when the not so sure about it is the woman who's supposed to be carrying this child. Like
uh-huh.
w- we should pay
It's
attention.
just such a
But I'm
gamble.
so glad it's a gamble. And like you don't want to gamble on if you'll be happy in that capacity and like
Hmm.
what all of it, yeah. But that's I think that we went over everything. I'm really glad that you came on for this episode.
Yay.
If you want to follow Janae, which you do, make sure to look at the details of this episode because I will have her socials linked. She is also, like I said, a marriage and family therapist based in Atlanta. So if you find yourself in need of talking to someone, then I will put the link for her website as well.
This is always great, Leah. I cannot wait for us to debrief after the reunion because that's going to be
Me
good.
too. I can't wait. I hope you have a great day. I'm so glad we got to chat and thank you for talking to me.